He'll do whatever you please.
Everything's illusion, appearance.
Quite right. Then the argument I offered here, just out of desperation, it cost me 5 hours, that Professor Radhakrishnan, who's a Brahmin, South Indian, come from the same part of India, Shankaracharya, etc., and he has written, there is no reference in Upanishads, these ancient books of the Vedas, that the world is an illusion. Now, more fellows talk to me, and in my column, my journalistic column, I gave the address of the President of India, where to write to him, write to Radhakrishnan. I don't want to be bothered. Now, when, yeah, that's right, I can't answer 200 letters, damn it, you're fools. Why don't you follow Radhakrishnan instead of following some clown here, or Miss McLean, or somebody who is saying she is a god? Now, if you ask Shankaracharya and his followers, please, why? He will tell you, because the Vedas, these documents were here before creation.
Right.
If you ask him, how the devil do you know? Why should I not give the same courtesy to a Muslim who tells me I will go to hell for declaring myself to be God, or a Christian? He says, no, it is here. And if the world is a Maya, falsehood, an illusion, this book, the Vedas, which the British redeemed, and the Germans partly translated,
Right.
they have a corpus, they are a body of a thing. They are built up of 5 elements according to the Vedic literature. Why is this not Maya? Why the exception? He tells me, it is my forefathers' thing, and it was before creation. And I told the class, Mr. Leib came to visit my class, you are Americans, you are not Hindus, you are not obliged to accept it. You are relying upon reason, not because this was outside the creation. If you find me unreasonable, please question me. But do not accept these ideas, because they are not accepted by the Indians either. Radhakrishnan, others, they give them a kind of a protest, freedom. He said, if all is dedicated to God, I'll dedicate sex to God, and therefore this is tantra, sexual act.
Right.
There are no morals. That is very falsehood. This alleged development of Buddhism in Japan and elsewhere would justify a warrior, a samurai warrior, killing people simply because nobody is killed. I have sunk this ship, American ship, because it is divine justice, divine sword working, except that I will not sink the ship of the Mikado, the Japanese. I give you my word, for 40 years in India, I have met everybody that speaks on Shankara Vedanta and so on. They do not believe in the world being Maya. There is always a point of reality, and I'm afraid in all cases, I have not published my diaries yet. I have 4,000 pages of handwritten diary. Every one of them had 2 points, not one. It was sex and it was money. They were real. The life showed it. The action showed it. The choices showed it. Now, with regard to Gautama Buddha's procedure, he himself, while sitting under the Bodhi tree, said he had forgotten an earlier prophecy that he will become a Gautama Buddha under this particular tree at this time. He had forgotten it. Because being a human being, according to the text, he came under those limitations. These are devices of saying there are no limitations. I am God, I am paripurna, fulfilled. Yet I haven't got $100. That's where the godlessness shows up. We are godless people. We are not possessed of the vibhuti, the grandeur, the glory of God. Now, as far as Brahma, the book explains this great God by negation. Neti, neti, no, no. No definition will describe this great God. This great God was once upon a time. This question is asked of a great disciple of Gautama Buddha. What is Nibbana? A man tells him, irritation, nirvana, nirvana, what is nirvana? The answer by this great disciple was very simple. He said, Nibbana is. Now, from this Gautama Buddha said, the whole purpose of study of his particular tradition, I am confined to the earlier tradition, not the Japanese, not the Chinese, not the Buddhist, Tibetan. This has all been changed. So Theravada, the doctrine of elders, in which people truthfully start a chapter by saying, thus I have heard, I've heard this. From arising out of it, this particular God cannot be described. He has no attributes of any kind. That's what the sages say. This has been picked up by physicists, all kind of people, saying we are God, we are the Brahma, but the Brahma had no attributes. We have attributes. The speaker has attributes, qualities. Make selection. Being in this limitation. Now, I was telling you about people talking about Brahma and declaring the same Brahma with all the qualities and deficiencies they might have.
Right.
Now, the Gautama Buddha, there was a prophecy by a previous Buddha that he cannot avoid being the most enlightened being. He will become a Gautama Buddha under this tree. Up to last minute, he cannot recall this. His greatest statement is memory falsifies, perception falsifies. It was deficient. The previous Buddhas was superior. So he says, under the Mahabodhi tree, may my bones rot. Until I reach nirvana, I will not get up. This same oath is taken by us. I have been in a monastery. We still take it. The intention got to be there to do that. Now, there is a area where all speculation cease. No intellectual commerce. It is that area where time does not matter. Space is very real. Time is very real. Yet a commentator, Vyasa, who was the editor of the Vedas, the great Vyasa, and he has written in a commentary on Yoga Sutra, actual quotation, time, Kala. Now this is personified as a very evil monster that consumes us all, Gautama Buddha included, everybody. Good. And Akasha, space, he defines the space, anything intervening two objects. Now, that these two are buddhi nirmana, schemes of understanding. They are not real. They are convenient method. In the world which we live, we cannot live without these two factors. I have an appointment with you today at this hour, and we sit at this distance to each other. Good. But this statement can be made by a great adept who has access to this kind of a world. Where it is not everybody, Miss McLean will say, I declare it because I met someone, she told me this. It won't do, it is not true. Therefore, there are stages when Gautama Buddha made a statement that we should pursue this. He gave us an excellent reason, which I try to repeat to the students every day. He said, why do you practice this path? Why do you walk this path? He said, to know things as they are truly, yatharth, according to their true meaning. It's a pursuit of truth. That is the main impulse about it, not personal benefit or curious material. A person comes on a television and talks about, origin of things. And Professor Morrison from one of the university technical school, he said that the metaphor given by the Indians that there was the ocean of milk is right because they were using a very homely image, and that the world has been described in one of the sacred books, that is Hindu sacred books, from one to many. Now, this statement is in the Vedas, that Brahma said, may I be many. The question is, you ask Shankara, as we are not speaking as Brahma, we are in a level of reasoning, what the devil makes you say so? Were you prior to him? Did you watch the incident? Did you hear it by any of your subtle senses, real senses, on any level? He doesn't answer these questions. He just said, it is my religion. I'm not obliged to accept it. Although by born a Hindu and all, it is unsatisfactory. Now, afterwards there has been a growth of Hinduism in which this Brahma is so all-pervasive, it almost doesn't exist. Then later on, he becomes God, he becomes Shakti, power, a feminine power from which creator and the sustainer and the destroyer manifest themselves. Till it comes to Bhagavad Gita, which is a book of philosophy, book of religion, it tells you, all is myself. Krishna tells you, all is myself. That is, I, God, am in this pig. There was a pig there. And in you, it does not arise. We don't live it anyway. It is useless. It's a theory. It's a quotation. It's waste of time. Might be entertaining people on the television. If it is so, why have we, Hindus, ill-treated women the way we have? Why have we got untouchability? It's outrageous conduct in present century. In that form, it has God in three forms, the creator, and all others are emanation of the deity. That's why the Christian missionaries issued a statement that Jesus Christ is not a Hindu God. They found it quite acceptable, incarnation. He is an unsure part of the deity. Whatever they said, they accepted, except that it wasn't Christianity or Jesus Christ. And they pointed it out. So you see, we have a mixture here, and the fact this country and other countries are searching for these things, maybe due to the formula ignorance and curiosity. Curiosity with animals, it's a great gift with which technology is developed, but it is just waste of time. And it also tells us, most certainly tells me, deficiency in that person. He is not fulfilled. That is why I would like to write another book. I don't know to write another book. I do it for many reasons. That's why we were meeting our attorney the other day. Who do we give this money to? If in this age it costs $15 to heal a leper who is being consumed by a disease, I will save money and I'll earn money.
Well, what actual works are you preparing now in terms of some of the literary collection, some of the philosophical works, some of the diaries?
You see, I gave a unitary title to called the Risala, that means the book. After I retired from the department, I asked the department to release me at 65 to save 5 years. And Mr. Lee took me to lunch. He said, "We like you to stay." That wasn't enough. I was still thinking of resigning time. But these great books told me that if you are a brahmachari, brahmachari is a person who pursues Brahma, God, why should you rest? That went home. And so I gave this unitary title, the Risala, and I found I have 7 books already done with the help of a student. I have rheumatoid arthritis. When it is there, I am just not able to do anything. So these 7 books are already typed, copied, etc. We are just revising them as ever. So the first book is this book, definitive edition. We got it out last year. We have an excellent, sensitive publisher who is very involved in literary matters, truly. He's sought me. We never applied for the book. He made inquiries in New York where I was, this book should be in print. And he came to meet me. Now, second book is the collected short stories. I have them. I had a letter from John Silver. He told me, please show me something that you're doing. First, I didn't want to because I know how busy he is. He told me it is such a joy, that particular story. Now, not my intention. This work is different, but if it gives him pleasure, that's justification enough. So we have a collected short stories going to the printer shortly, within a few months. I have 18 months of essays, weekly essays I wrote, which brought responses from Europe, from America, all over, but published in Bombay. Now, that collection is there. And there I traveled to Europe, I traveled to Chicago, I traveled during those, the span of that particular book. So I have that book, and I have my lectures, indeed, in most universities in England. Here, for instance, in Michigan State, the most important function, they said, on ethics conference, that we want you to tell us, we want you to take a character from Indian tradition or literature, judge it so as to enable us, this is the chairman's letter, to improve our ethics program. Now, I took Shankaracharya. I find grave faults in the man, ethically. I haven't published that yet. This comes from those collected discourses, talks. And they are Oxford, they are Cambridge, they are here, they are in Texas, 1 or 2. So that is another book. And I have verse, nonsense verse. Oh yes, we have had a lot of compliments for those, for pleasure.
Some of your humorous works.
Oh yes, you see, but these are on a different level, a contemporary level. You see, they introduce the footnotes involved, Ezra Pound, quotation, other. I think you will like it. I'm quite sure. But these are the books, and that collectively was called the Risala. I have a contract with Farrar Straus, who are an important publisher in London. I submitted it to them. It was, they said, it should be like this, London. There is a public waiting for a second book. Bali said, I will not write what you want me to write. And so Farrar Straus said, it's beyond us, you see. Mr. Giroux wrote me a letter. Never in a lifetime, only once to a life of an editor. He considered the most distinguished editor, Mr. Giroux. And he said that one gets a book like this. The range is astonishing, etc. I have got the contract back, so I'm free. to negotiate wherever I like, because you know, we don't want to break a word. We have a contract to give the next book to them. So I'm on the way to do it. So
And what about some...
after that, I will do this Nari text and Shankaracharya, etc. Those are there already too. My Indian diaries are 4,000. No time.
Right. And what do you think of doing with the Indian diaries? Just to publish them as is, or to do selections, or to elaborate?
It depends on how oppressed I am at the time. Actually, this is an Indian diary, but it also is what is happening here, alas, in this country. The things that I saw. I mean, I never believed that in England a child will die because there is no bed available under Social Security. The first country that brought it in, it modified it day before yesterday anyway, according to BBC. Now, that people are homeless, that there is no shelter, that we have no time to think about the parents of these children, what they would be feeling, that last Christmas, I believe it was last Christmas, that in England all the homeless were allowed to sleep where the buses are parked, the entire area, at least they have a roof over their head because of the snow, etc. And when the Christmas was over, that we tell them, you can leave now, there's no space. I didn't believe it. So my Indian diary, alas, most unfortunately, is happening here. Therefore, it doesn't require editing. You just mention bare fact.
And what are some of your observations in the United States? Do you watch television news?
Oh,
do
no,
you
a time.
read news magazines?
Please, time. I buy 2 weekly magazines just to keep in touch and skip through. Daily paper I do. You see, just relaxes me and gives me. I have no time. Do you see if you see my life, it's, you know, it has to be, alas, because there's no other way. But I have, when I came to this country, I found people happy, prosperous. Therefore, I wanted to be there. You see, I had come from India where I can't tell you the things that happened to me personally. The myth that real India is in the villages, it's an untruth, it's a lie. That's where the maximum problems are. Sanitation, sepsis, disease, leprosy increasing in India of all the countries today, you see. So these problems, alas, were not here. Happily were not here in this country. I just went to a fellow and told him, bank, that I haven't got any money. I don't like to break the law. I have plenty of money before coming here. But in India, it's an offense against national security to deal in foreign exchange. And I don't like to break the law. So I borrowed $500 from a friend's, not in India, but his New York office, which is quite legal. But I went to the bank and told him that I have his check. He cashed it. Number of incidents like tell me that these are happy people, good people. There is wonderful potential in this country. I have thought so. I would leave otherwise. I have places to go to. No, I lived in Australia. I lived in most countries of Europe, everywhere. But no. The unfortunate thing is somewhere the direction is wrong. I obviously feel strongly about it. I want to speak to you with emotion about it. There are good people. It's the direction, the responsibility of the tutors who are offering material under guise of knowledge. It is not knowledge, it's not even scholarship. If you come and sit down and say, do you call yourself a Vedanta? This is scholarship, that you accept this statement of Shankaracharya, for instance. Or trick words, when a king tells Shankaracharya, he's chased by a mad elephant and Shankaracharya naturally runs away. And he tells him, why did you run away if you are Brahma? Then these clever answers, that the elephant is Brahma, I'm a Brahma, you are Brahma, therefore I win an argument, this will not do. This is a kind of a trick, you can find it in, you know.
So you find there's been a decline in scholarship in the United States?
Alas, particularly Eastern things, so-called Eastern things, where adventurers came here who found ready audience. You see, which would accept things uncritically. We haven't got energy to go and waste time on these things, that this has nothing to do with this tradition. You see, that, so the only way, indeed this is a conversation with John Silver. He knew that, he told me, I want these classes to be dedicated to telling people actual texts, to protect these young people, but they are not prepared for it. Do you see this? I've done my best. Truly, I've not hidden anything from them. I've been affectionate. I loved I can say that. I have cared. But alas, it is, the forces opposite are too strong. Do you see, in all cases, what you call charity, what is the nature of charity? This is all wrong. What is, it's wrong, alas.
And do you feel that there's also been a decline in social and political life in the United States?
Oh, alas, yes.
Since you've come here in the 1960s?
Oh, yes, because the reason is this. In Gautama Buddha simplified his religion, simply that we should live morally, ethical preparation. The Yoga Sutra said nobody can assume a yoga posture without having ethical excellence. All right, what is ethical excellence? Gautama Buddha, before he becomes a Gautama Buddha, in his lives, he walking and hears an animal cry, and he looks into the well and finds a tiger had fallen down, and it's crying, hunger. He, according to his lights at that time, he was not a Buddha, not an enlightened person, he gave his life for that tiger. Because he said, I can reason, I have buddhi, and this poor creature can't help himself. Now, that kind of a demand was made under heading compassion, fellow feeling. He felt like a tiger. That's a condition before you could do any kind of ethical act of this nature. Now, if you lie all the time and you call it public relations, you call it propaganda, you have not enough dignity. That's a violation of dignity. When we lie, we pretend, then I'm afraid everything becomes a lie, from a view of God to view of ourselves. I have noticed that all the time, all over really, not in this country, all over. Now, this will not do. We have found that in India, this particular thing that Mahatma Gandhi revived, non-violence, which is one of the ethical rules of Patanjali Yoga Sutra and Gautama Buddha, these words belong to them. That we should not destroy life. We should not engage in a business that leads to killing, destruction of life. This is what is the elementary preparation without which you do not qualify as a student of yoga. In India, they said Gandhi introduced this. Now, I have had a colloquium in university here in which I have read a speech by Gandhi asking people to learn to use the guns and join the British Army. Because if you don't, you will not know how to use the gun. And I found Professor Malta surprised. He writes this thing not when he is discovering nonviolence, after he has become famous and taken a particular position. I object to scholarship. We must know the reasons why he said that. He gave us a reason, truthfully, later on in Canada, that we want to become a dominion status. And later on, he said, if I want protection of British Navy, I must do this.
So Gandhi is really a major political and philosophical force in your life?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Because I found him wanting. This is produces clashes like this, like you're interviewing me. And we received the editor of Illustrated Weekly. I've just arrived from Australia, and he asked me in an interview, what do you think we ought to do? Because the Chinese army is in. I didn't tell him that there was so much tension between Indians and Chinese in Hong Kong that I felt so flattered and delighted that the Chinese Association gave me one discourse. In their tradition, if a sage comes, he speaks once. You hear him once and you go and work.
That's interesting.
That's right, you work. The 82-year-old lady on a wheelchair came. They had this lecture from me, and these good people, I was not affected by this enmity between them, gave me envelopes at the airport, money to go to Saigon, money here, money to... He said, this will help you. You see these countries on your way to India. He asked me what to do against the Chinese. I told him, we must do a satyagraha, Gandhi's word, loving persuasion. Agraha is persuasion, satya, truthful one, and win them over. He, by this time, 1960 or so, 62, I'm returned. So much loss of confidence in Mahatma Gandhi, and the behavior of Pandit Nehru was so opposite to everything and government of India. He told me, are you serious? Look, I told him the arguments for this have been offered by Mahatma Gandhi and Mr. Nehru, who said he showed us a path of winning by the spirit. He didn't. Nobody did. Haven't we taken this particular thing seriously? So the fact remains We are back against observance of a rule and talking about a rule. That's what is happening with regard to Gandhi. You try that Gandhian method. I have not been following him at all. On the contrary, my assessment of Gandhi have produced this result, that Mr. Silber gave a dinner party for me, and they had a professor from Oxford who teaches, Indian procedures, political economics. And he told me that was the last viceroy of India, Pandit Nehru. I told him I've written an assessment of Pandit Nehru, so I happen to have it. This assessment is accompanied by two other things, and they were the last president of Mexico, one of the president who was a professor, friend of Nehru. So this is a symposium. I am the one that is assessing him. The others are just yielding to him. And he asked for a copy. I gave it to him, and Silver thanked me, and he told me I had no idea. They are not following this man. If his words were followed, yes, but they weren't.
Right.
I think he's a politician all the way. If you just watch it very carefully, you see. And the results are these. I have recently read a book on Mahatma Gandhi, American book, and it quotes a line from an American book on Gandhi, "Lead kindly light." He used to do that. And this particular verse, which they used to sing at a prayer meetings, is in Gujarati. I happen to have Gujarati. So it simply says, the first line, we call those people Vaishnava, that means follower of Vishnu, God's people, God's folk. Those who, second line, know the pain of others. Pira means pain, parai, others. That is a qualification. And this book is simply places Gandhi as a religious person. This was his faith. It was not. Because in this prayer meeting, he will also bring in lead kindly light. Then he will bring Islam, Hindu and Mahatma, any damn thing. It's a slippery eel. Any time, he said it's all for one God. He picked it up from the Vedas, a cliche. Everybody uses that. God is one and names are many. But that he didn't live by this. I'm afraid he did not. We have plenty of evidence. I don't want to turn this into a scholarship brawl, but I have said these things in important platforms in this country. That how could you do this kind of a thing? How could you do this kind of a thing? Look, this is something you might carry with you on this theme. We have these untouchable peoples in India whom we have treated brutally. We have no right to demand from South Africa or other people, you should not be prejudiced against us. Because we are prejudiced against human beings, denying them for centuries up till now. Now, there was one untouchable, so-called, Gandhi uses the word God's people, Harijan, for them. This gentleman, Dr. Ambedkar, he later on became Defense Minister of India with Pandit Nehru's connivance. He had 25 million voters with him. Now, this man, admirably, you hold him as an example. He comes to America and get a PhD from Columbia University, hence Dr. Ambedkar. He made a statement in this country, Gandhi is the greatest enemies of untouchable. At that time, Mr. Wendell Willkie and others were saying he is Christ's image. They were turning his... Why would he say that? In the end, alas, after postmortem of Gandhi, etc., we have never adapted them. They are not coming into the temples. They en bloc moved and became Buddhists, false Buddhists, I'm afraid, for political reasons. Now, so you see, it is the upper crust that is corrupt. And the other people looking for entertainment to get away from themselves, the television viewers, the book reviewers, and the people who want to look for love, holidays, vacation, all these are, in Buddha's word, pursuit for kama chanda. Kama means desire. This is the plane of desire. Buddha made a great statement, the only way true happiness can be had by renouncing desire. And good, I don't want to detain you long. I'm at your service if you want to.
Well, this might be actually a good conclusion to your philosophical discussion today. And we thank you for coming to our country.
I'm delighted.
And conveying all of your knowledge and your wisdom and helping us understand more about Indian culture. And thank you for coming.
Many things for being as courteous as you have been. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you very much.